Hello everyone, my name's Ryan and I've decided to start a little Unity C# tutorial series in case people want to learn Unity, learn some C#. It's pretty fun to do, pretty easy to get started. There's a lot you can do in Unity compared to some other things like GameMaker, but GameMaker's more, I'd say, for like 2D, Unity for 3D. So to start this off for first episode, I'm going to talk about creating your own script, creating a new method or function, depending on if you've done previous programming before, what you'll call it, and creating some variables. So for this, I will be using one of the newer versions of Unity. I don't have the cloud in it, so I'm using 5 point something. It doesn't really matter too much, as long as you've got over Unity 5. So I'll put a link to this in the description, but you can just Google Unity download, and then get this. And for the actual development, I'll be using Visual Studio, because I much prefer it to the ModideVeloper. It's got more shortcuts and everything, and I find it clean to look at. So for this, you can just Visual Studio download, and the one you'll want is Visual Studio Community or Visual Studio Code. The one I would say you should get would be Visual Studio Community. So just download that, and then after you've downloaded that, you will hop back into Unity, go Edit, Preferences, External Tools, click the drop down here, and then go to Visual Studio. If Visual Studio doesn't pop up or you have any issues, just press a comment and I'll tell you how to fix it through Browse. Okay, so to start this off, when you hop in Unity, you get everything set up. The way Unity works is it has a scene view here, which you can do a lot of editing in, and then it has your game view. So if I right click here, I can go create 3D object, create a cube. So this will put this cube here, to put in the center, and then you can see it in the game view here. If I rotate it, you can see it moves. So it's very easy for you to build levels. You can just like create a capsule, move him over, and yeah, so that's one of the easiest ways for you to start building your little game objects. So obviously having these little game objects here, they don't really do much because there's no code assigned to them. So what you can do is you can go over to your project window. Your layout will probably look like this. So click here, go one column. So go to your project, right click, create, and then you want to go here to C# script. And then let's call this my learning. Let's call it my learning script. And then just double click on it. That will then load it up in Visual Studio. One thing I like doing is, I hate it like this, where it has all the one line, so I press Control A, Control K, and then Control D, and that just formats it all for you. I'll put the hotkeys that I use in this tutorial in the description. So if you've never done programming before, this might look a little bit confusing. So the way it works is you've got your class, and then you got your class name, and we won't worry about this. This is what inherits from. And then inside your class you have your functions or your methods, so what you want it to do. So these two here are built in by Unity, start and update. Start will run once the game starts. So if you go back to Unity, as soon as you click this, that's what it will run. So if we go up to window here and go down to console, hit play, it won't do anything because right now not telling the game to do anything. So now if we go back into Visual Studio, you can put in some code here to tell it to do something. So one thing that's very important is to always be looking at your console. It tells you errors, tells you everything that you need to know. So you can actually write to the console as well by typing debug.log, and then you put in two parentheses here. So this is the arguments that the function will take. This is built in by Unity, whereas if you're doing it outside, you could use the print function. But since we're doing Unity, we'll be using debug.log. Now it takes in a string, so the way you do a string is by putting double quotation marks. So like string, my string equals raw. So all strings will go inside a double quotation marks, and it should be highlighted this color, and that will show that it is in fact a string. So in here we can type in the game has started. save that through File, Save, or Control S, and then tab back to Unity. And then if we just hit play right now, you see it won't do anything. And the reason why it won't do anything is we have a script, but we don't have the script to actually run in the game. So what we can do is, with the cube that I have created here, this learn little cube, I can get this script and drag it down to here or onto here. And then you'll see that the script becomes attached to this cube. And now when we hit run, there we go, the game has started. So then writes that into the console for us. So this can be very helpful for if you have like an error or something, or you want to test code, you can just put in debug logs to see when it runs. So that's what the start method does. So it runs once, only once, when the game starts. Update here, it's a little bit bigger than start. As you'll see by the default comments, says update is called once per frame. So if your game's running at 300 frames per second, it'll run 300 times per second, 30, it'll run 30. So if we move this to here, Control X, Control V, Control S to save, and then we go back to Unity and run it, you'll see it starts running very rapidly. And it's just constantly running over and over and over and over, and it won't stop until the game stops. So it's not very useful for this. If I turn off collapse here, you see it just spams over and over and over. So this is just very simple debug logging. If you have any issues with it, I'll more than happily help you. So another thing you can do, because you're not limited to just these two things here to do your programming, you can create your own one. For example, so we just did some debug logging. We can go void, and then we can go write debug. Now when you create your own function, this is the return type of it. So this I could write like string, but we won't get into that. So just write void, the name, and then the curly brackets, just like these two have. So in here is where, I'll get into this in a later tutorial, but if you want to know what it means now, you can put in, you can tell it what it accepts, or like what it can take in. So I can write like int my health, and then I can pass in an integer to it, but we won't get into that yet, it'll be a little too confusing. So in here, we can then put in our debug.log. This is running in our method. Go to the end, and every single line has to have a semicolon. A semicolon is like a full stop. So if I didn't have this, and then I went to the next line and tried to go debug.log, it won't pop up as anything, because it'll think that I'm writing this here, writing it over and over. But if I did this, it would then allow me to, because this indicates that this is the end of the line. So now with our function here, it won't do anything, because just like the other one was, it's not being called. So what we can do is we can go to like start, and we can go write debug, and you'll see here it pops out with the function we just created, void my learning script, which is what we're currently in, and then the function write debug. So once again, put in a parentheses and a semicolon. So when the game starts, the code will run, it'll see write debug, and then it will call this function. It'll run this. So let's go back into Unity and test that out. Clear our console, play. And there it is. This is running our method. So if I move this to here, you will then have the same result that I had before. I was holding down Alt to move that, by the way. Okay. So you see, it constantly runs from line 22, 21, 10, 17. So you can see it's running on a different line now. Sorry about that, this had a little interruption. So now we have this running in here, which is why it's spamming. So we don't really want that, so we will just move that back to start. So now that we've learned to create our own functions, we will learn to create variables. So let's say we wanted to make our debug write a number. So we could do this, make it write like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. But what if we wanted to like change that throughout the game or something? Then this would be set. We can't change that unless we do if statements. We won't get in that. So let's create but let's create our own string for it. So let's go string my name equals, and my name is Ryan, not Ryan M. So now we have our string. So this is the data type, or the variable type, which we created string, which is like a text of characters really. So we could have it like this. We could have Ryan, we could have Billy Bob, we could have raw XD, we can have whatever we want. So we're going to put Ryan here. So now down here, instead of having an anonymous string here, that's probably what it's called, we can get rid of these. Ooh, insert. And we can then write the name here. So we're going to write my name. And you'll see hover over this string, my lang script, and the variable called my name, which we just created. So now when we go back to here, clear, run, it'll then say Ryan. It'll print out our variable name. But if I did this, this will then be running a string with the text in it, my name, not getting our variable name, my name. So make sure you don't do that. So we could do this actually. We could go, my name is, and then we could put space, and then you see in this it'll have an error. So what we need to do is put a plus sign. So this will do my name is, and then we got a little space here, and then we got a plus because we want to add more to this function, and then we want to put my name. So we'll save this, go back to Unity. Phew, okay, and then we'll run it, and we look, my name is Ryan. So we can then change this. We can go, my name is Bob. We can run it, and it'll say Bob. But you see, for us to do this, we have to constantly be reloading the game. So one thing we can do is we can move this back into update, so it constantly runs. Now, since we just have this called string, my name equals Bob, it's currently a private, so this would be the same as having like this. So what a private means is it's limited to your scope of code. So the easiest way to explain that is, we created this at the very top outside of a method within a class called public class myLearningScript. So if we had another public class myOtherScript, and then we did this, and then we go try and change my name, so we can go my name, you see nothing pops up here. But if we go here, we can go my name, we can go in a method, my bad, my name, and then equals, let's call him Timmy the turtle, hehe. So we have our name here, which is done before initialization, and then when the game starts, this will be changed to Timmy. So it'll allow us to do it in here, because this method is part of the class, whereas this class is separate, so it won't let us. But what we can do is we can then, there's another type called public. So if we make this public, we can then reference this class in here and change this. I'm not going to do that now because it'll be a little confusing. I'll either do that at the end of the tutorial or the next one. So now we have our person called Bob. But another cool thing about public is, let's change it back to private for a minute. If we go in here to our script, you'll notice there's nothing here for us to even look at, change, or edit. But if we change private to public, tab out, we will then notice that there's Bob here. So if we run, my name is Bob, my name is Bill, my name is Cup, phone, dog, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. You get the idea. So now, with this, we can edit our variable from here. It won't change the code, but it will change it in here. And then, once you make it public, change it in here, like raw, it won't change here, which is a little annoying. So you change it from here from now on, but when you reload Unity, when you reload Unity, then it will, that's when it will change to what this is, or like reassign the script. So if we go remove, reassign to cube, there will be raw. Okay, so we will keep this public, And then, so we have our name, but let's say we want our person to have health. So there are many ways to do numbers. For having health, we will do a float. So a float is a floating decimal number. So for example, like 123 point, like that, instead of just 111. If you want to do that, you would use an integer, which is just a solid number. So let's go float my health equals 100f. Now you notice we used a solid number, like an integer, but we put an f here. And what this f means, it stands for float. So if we remove this f, we would get an error when we go to run the game. Oh well, we won't for this, but if we did like 10.3, there we go. Literal of type double cannot be implicitly converted to type float. Use an f suffix to create this literal type. So we put an f here, and then there we go. So if we make this public, like our string, we can then see my health. So we can create many things here. So we have our health, we can have our, let's say he has a level. My level equals 5. He is level 5. So an integer, as you see, if we put an f here, it'll come back with an error, because it's an integer, not a float. If we try to do 5.5, it won't let us, because an integer is a full number, a solid number, like 1 or 2 or 300 or whatever. So now let's change back to that. So we have our level, and then, so let's say we want to check if he has armor. So in C# and like every programming language, there's this thing called a boolean. Now a boolean is something that's either true or it's false. So let's go bool has armor equals, by default it'll be false, so we can have that if we want, but let's say he has armor, so let's put it to true. Okay, so now what we can do is in our write debug method, we can go my name is plus my name plus I have, and then we go another plus, so we got another string here, I have, and then we will go plus my health plus health. Okay, so the way this works now is we're writing the string my name is plus the variable that we have called my name plus the words I have, it's the string, so we have it in there, and then we go plus our variable my health plus health. So this will say my name is raw, I have 10.3 health. So let's go save, run. My name is raw, I have 10.3 health. And then obviously we can like change this, and then it'll change as well. We can move this up, we can move this down, so we can do whatever we want. We can change our name. Okay, so let's go back to this now, and we go, he has armor, but we won't bother writing that. He has his level, but we also won't bother writing that. So now let's say you have, this is our my learning script, but it's kind of like a character setup. So you have my name, my health, my level, has armor and everything. But let's say we have another script and we want to change his name from another script. So we can go project, create C# script, our second script. We load it up. So just like we created variables before, or a data type, we can create a type of this script. So we can write this name exactly. This script has to be a public class as well, has to be public. So we can write my learning script, and you'll see it'll pop up here as my learning script. So this is our data type, like an integer or a boolean or a float, and then we can just call it other script. One naming convention that I like to do, as you can tell, is I start with a lowercase and then the rest start with uppercase. For scripts, I do all capitals. For functions, I do all capitals. Okay, so now here if we save, we assign our second script to cube. It has this script, but it doesn't really do anything. If we clear on play, run, it won't do anything. So let's go back to this script. One thing that is very, very useful, so let's say before we would always like remove this. One thing you can do is you can put in 2 slashes here, and you'll see this will go green, just like the comments. So we can go back here and comment this out. So now when it's compiling, it goes like this, runs through it, and it ignores this, goes through this, and it will ignore this. It will just see this as, it's for your eyes. The compiler just completely ignores it, doesn't run the code. So now, we can go in here, and let's say we wanted to run this function here from this script. So let's go other script dot, and then what did we call our function? Write debug. Now you'll notice nothing pops up here, and you can probably guess why. If you've been paying attention, you're picking on quick. This isn't public. All the other ones here, we have public, which we said can be accessed from like the inspector and from other scripts, if we have a reference to it. So for this, we can simply put public, because right now, it's acting like this, a private. Okay, so we made a public. So now we can go in here, we can go other script dot write debug, and you notice it'll pop up, parentheses, semicolon. Now if we go back to here, it still won't do anything. If we run it, we will get an error. So you'll probably see this a lot throughout your Unity experience. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. So what that means right now is we have told it, hey, we want a my learning script other script, and we want to run it from this, but we haven't told it where the script is. So the easiest way for us to do that is to go public, and I'm just going to quickly format, there we go, and then we clear this, and you notice up here it pops up with a little slot that we can put another script. So we can select Q because it has a script, or we can hold down left click and drag this to here, and now see it'll put it in there as well. So if I reset, you can drag it and put it in there. So now if we run, oops, so you'll realize that I commented this out by accident. What I was meant to comment was this. So comment that out of update. In fact, we can just remove that because we're not going to be running it from this script anymore. So now we have our write debug that we are running from our second script. So let's run. And there you go. It runs it from another script. So that will probably be all that I will do for this tutorial, because it's already gone for 23 minutes. If there's any questions you have or anything else you want to find out, like editing this from another script, you can just be like, you can just go my learning script dot my name and then change it there. But it'll be public, so we called it my name. My bad. Other script dot my name equals, let's call him keyboard, because that was the first thing that came to my mind. So now we can change this here, because the other script, we're editing the my learning script variable called my name, and we're changing it to keyboard. So that'll be all for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. This is my pretty much first programming tutorial I've ever made, so if you have any feedback on what I can change, if I'm going too fast, pacing, voice, whatever, I'll be more than happy to listen to your feedback. If you get any errors or need any help, just post in the comments and I'll get back to you when I can. So have fun learning. If you've missed anything, feel free to rewatch parts of the video, share it with your friends, and like and comment. Goodbye.